Denim Couch Podcast. Ooh, whoa, ooh, whoa.
The 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s with Steph with an F.
Hi guys, welcome to the Denim Couch Podcast, where we chill on this denim couch and talk about the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. I'm Stephanie Tanner. Welcome. Hey guys, it's Stephanie Tanner with the Denim Couch Podcast. Today's interviews with Lorna Phillips-Lund and Craig Lund, her husband, also joined us. And so it was really awesome because we just jam-packed this interview full of stories. And so I'm impressed that just our 30-minute interview could have so many different and just incredible, and I mean, they're amazing stories. So I'm excited, very entertaining. The cool thing about Craig and Lorna is that they actually got married recently. It's been probably around a year and a half, and they grew up together. So these stories are extra special because they knew each other at that time. And so while they experienced very different growing up experiences, they knew of each other. They were right next to each other in the yearbook half the time. And yeah, we flipped through some yearbook albums, and I got to see Craig and Lorna a couple photos away from each other, which is just incredible. What a cute love story. So this is special, very exciting. Lorna is one of the most beautiful women inside and out that I know. And she is uplifting and bubbly and just such a fun personality. So I'm so excited for you to listen to this interview. One thing that has been on my mind a lot this week is charity. And for no specific reason other than I just think charity gives us a lot of hope. I think in my experience this week, the charity that's been done for me has just uplifted me and made me feel like the world is good and that I have good people around me and I have help. I just have so much, and I'm very grateful, and I hope that I can be more charitable and that I can also do the same for other people. So I do think having charity and in such a self-absorbed world is something unique and that we need more of. And hey, it's been said, charity is the greatest gift ever. It's probably a little more eloquently stated than that, but charity brings hope and faith that people can be good and can be caring into the world. That's my thought for the week. I hope you all enjoy this interview just as much as I did. Lorna just packs a ton of stories in this, like I said, with Craig's help. And Craig is also a pretty funny guy. So enjoy. And my first question for you is, can you tell me a little bit more about your name?
Well, Lorna was not common at all. Not at all, was it?
You were the only Lorna I was aware of.
Yeah,
well,
I was
the
the
Lorna
only.
Shipman.
Yeah, but not common. But everybody would say, "What's your last name?" I'd say, "My name is Lorna Lee," and they go, "Lorna Lee what?" They didn't give me a middle name, so.
What was life like back in the 60s?
I think everybody's situation is a little different. I was an only child. I was raised on a farm, and life was just slow. I mean, I was a little bit of a diva because my parents were 40 years old when they adopted me, and my life was pretty stress-free. It was
Center of the universe.
Yeah, a little bit center of the universe. It was I had my dog and my cats, and we had some horses at the time and cows, and it was just,
No friends close by.
no friends close by. So we had a big garden, and we would always, a flower garden as well as vegetable garden. And my dad had a lot of potatoes. We grew potatoes. So every year we had a Mexican family. And I lived for them to come from the time I was a little girl up until the time I went away to college, and things kind of changed. And I grew so attached to them. I loved their cooking so much that I would run over to their house. Well, and we had 2 homes. We actually had quite a nice house for them to live in.
That's awesome.
And when they would come up from Mexico. And I would go over there and have dinner, and then I'd run back home and have dinner. I felt like I belonged to both families. Loved their culture, and they were so kind. Very, very nice people. But my childhood consisted of just so relaxing. When I was a teenager, I just decided what time I was going to go out and sunbathe every day. And and then I helped out in the fields, and, I drove tractor when they were haying, and I picked potatoes for like 15 minutes till my back got sore. And then they put me on a tractor. But it was just carefree, relaxing, wonderful. Craig had a little different experience.
Well, I grew up in a child in a house with 5 kids. My family was a step family because my father was killed in an accident, farm accident. My mom remarried, and so we blended of sorts, and a little friction from time to time. My brother was quite the charmer. I think we would say that we were I think all of us in the 60s, and probably every generation, pretty idealistic. We look at, like I was a big Bobby Kennedy fan.
His brother was assassinated when we were in high school.
Yeah, that's the one, where were you when such and such happened? We were, I don't know, which class you were in?
I was walking down the hallway.
I was in math class.
And they announced it on the intercom, and everybody just kind of froze.
Well, the same thing then, the Vietnam War was not a big deal.
Yeah, it hit home for us. The Vietnam War hit home for us. Yeah.
We can only imagine, what you see people you become friends with get killed in terrible ways. We were pretty high-minded, at least from what I'm reading in my stuff. And pretty philosophical about how things are, and pseudo-mature. We weren't mature yet, but we thought we were.
What were some popular activities?
We had dances out there, Riverside, which is a swimming pool. And they had a sunning area that was slabs of cement.
Well, the dancing was at night.
Yeah.
And the swimming, mainly on weekends. Mainly on weekends. And then the swimming was all the time. But that was a popular hangout spot.
No, there wasn't a lot of dances, but I remember that was a big deal. They had the Perfidians. Remember the Perfidians? Was one.
Yeah.
They were pretty good bands. A couple of bands come up from Idaho Falls and play. And so some of the Idaho Falls kids, which were like a big city for us, they would come up too. And they had their own cliques over there, and our guys were over there.
I dated that student body president from Idaho Falls.
Among tens of tens.
Among many others.
She was a serial dater.
A serial dater.
But I think for fun, though, most of it was just standard stuff, ball games and dances. And
we had a lot of school dances, and they were, everybody came. Back then, it was really a fun thing to do. And you dressed up. I somewhere in my boxes, I've got pictures of the way I would go to prom but they were formals, very formals, and you wore the long white gloves. And there was a very poor family that lived in the same town I did. And this woman had a lot of grandchildren. And so my mother, every time she bought me something new, she would pack up a box, and then we would take it down. And this family they were so grateful. So all of the clothes, when I grew out of them, there was nobody else to pass them on to. And so she took them down to this family, and that was nice. Another thing my mother did was at least once a month, if not more often, on Sunday afternoons, she would go around and visit all the elderly in our ward. And she would, she'd call first to see if we could come over, but she took me because she wanted me to be there to appreciate their stories. And a lot of times the elderly kind of get forgotten. So we would go around. There might be 3 or 4 homes that we would go visit on a Sunday afternoon. And it gave me a love and appreciation for old people, the elderly like we are now.
Do you have any favorite memories from the 60s?
So I'll tell you 2. So I had a dog that I loved with all my heart. He came when I was about in primary, and he was kind of a small black lab, and so I don't know if somebody dropped him off or what, or dropped her off. It was a girl. And so one day we were getting ready to go to primary, and this dog came barking in our yard. And I mean, these are big farms, and so I don't know how it got there, but it came into our yard. And I said, "Oh, can I keep it? Can I keep it?" And my mother says, "Well, let's give it a piece of bread with some bacon grease on it. And if it's still here when we get back," we didn't have anything else. "If it's still here when we get back, we'll talk about it and see if anybody comes to claim it or whatever." Okay. That dog ended up being my dog until my second year of high school or college. I mean, that was an old dog. So I had a friend that came over, and I'd been watching the Lassie shows, Timmy and Lassie, and I saw Lassie take out after somebody that was trying to harm or rob the family. And so I thought, I'm going to see if my dog would do that, if my dog would protect me like Lassie did Timmy. Okay. And so I had a friend over, and I said, "I'm going to run around my yard, and I'm going to scream, and I want you to chase me. I want to see what my dog will do." Well, my dad had to come and peel my dog off my friend. I don't think she ever came over again. Anyway, then I had this sweet dog until my second year of college. She lost her hearing in her sight, and I came home, and she was waiting on the steps for me. And I said, I just gave her a quick pet, and I says, "Oh, I'll come and spend some time with you when I wake up in the morning," because it was late. And so I woke up the next morning, and normally she's right there on the step, but she had my dad had made her a dog house in our garage, which was a long ways from the house. And so I just thought, where is she? Where is she? Went out, and she'd passed away. She had waited for me to come home. This is kind of shows you how spoiled I was, but yet I wasn't spoiled. My friend got this baby doll. I still have her today, and it was the most darling. You need to know that I would cancel a date if I could babysit. I love babysitting because I love children so much. And I've had times when I'd have a date and somebody asked me to babysit, and I'd call and say, "Can we go out another time?" Anyway, so, but this doll is just like a real baby. And the only problem was back then, she was $25, which was a lot of money back then. You could get like 5 pair of shoes for that. And so Christmas was coming up, and my friend had had this doll for a few months. And I told my parents, I said, "The only thing I want is this doll. It's the only thing I want." Well, they went to Tidal Falls and found out it was in this toy store that she was $25. And my dad, very, very conservative financially. And I guess he just said, absolutely not. And so he went over to Tolman's Merc, and I was so excited. I could hardly wait for Christmas because I knew I was going to get this doll. And so I didn't care about anything else. I didn't want any other presents. I just wanted this doll. And I ended up, Christmas morning, I had a few things to open up, and I didn't care about anything. I had for stockings, you didn't buy stockings. Your mother's nylon stocking was what you hung up for Santa Claus. Yeah, these nylons. I went downstairs, and there was a box, because my dad always hid one present for me. I had to go find it, and I knew this was going to be the doll. So excited. I ripped the paper off, and there, and I kid you not, was the ugliest doll I've ever seen in my life. She had brittle, blonde, ugly hair, and she was all rubber, and she was like this tall, and just this rubber doll that my dad got at Tolman's Merc.
Did not look like a baby.
Did not look like a baby. She was hideous, and Do you think that, I mean, I bawled and bawled and bawled. Do you think my parents ran out and got me that doll? I had to wait a whole nother year to get that doll. So in some ways I was spoiled, but I've treasured that doll ever since. But dating back then, I'll have to tell you one funny dating experience. My dad thought that I was actually grounded because I come in too late the night before. Different guy, went out on another date the next night, and my dad thought I should be home, and I wasn't quite yet, and I pulled in, and my dad started flipping our yard light. Farms have these big yard lights. Well, my dad started flipping the yard light, and that was I better get in. I have to get in. And so he was walking me to the door, and my dad was coming down the steps in his garments because he was peeking out the door. As we were opening the door, he was coming down the stairs. We had a screen door and a regular door. He opened the screen door. We opened the screen door. He opened the other door. And there he was. He flipped around, and his back trap door was not all the way shut. We were on a party line, and it was my uncle, and he was always telling my dad I talked too long. I got in trouble a lot.
I've met all these other kids that were good people, lots of fun, a lot of memories, and we went out fishing on the river. And
that's fun.
Had a little farm and raised some pigs, and so I saw that side of life. Through all of that, I started working quite a bit. I started picking potatoes in second grade. I made like $16 or something like that.
You got paid like 25 cents an hour for babysitting. Yeah.
7 cents a sack for a sack of potatoes.
Well, 25 cents an hour was not good for babysitting, especially when you would come in and you were expected to put the kids to bed. You were expected to cook the supper, wash up all the dishes. If there was any laundry, you were supposed to do the laundry, get the kids to bed, bathe them, get them to bed. And then if you were there 4 hours, you'd get $1. So that wasn't a great way to make money. But
yeah, I sauté, planted potatoes, dug potatoes, cut the seed potatoes, irrigated them. I was a farm hand. $1.60, $1.25 an hour, went to $1.60 an hour. I built steel granaries. Yeah, that was just a lot of good work and fishing. And crazy time, we got a boat. This was the Snake River that was right next, 2 miles, 3 miles up us, and it was a steel boat made out of 1/4-inch steel plate, so it was heavy and awkward and boxy. And we took it up to the Lorenzo Bridge, which is about 5 miles away, and put it in. And we didn't have any oars; we had 2x4s. And it was high water in the spring, and we went down the river. We went into one bank sideways, and it's just lucky that we didn't lose everything and drown right there. Anyway, we floated the river for about 5 hours and got home about an hour after sunset, and it was crazy times.
We used to make a lot of homemade ice cream too, but it was usually only in the winter because we had a big canal in front of our house, so my dad would go with an axe, get the ice, and then just make this. It was the churn; it's not the electric, but we had a lot of homemade ice cream. So that was fun.
I got a little hatchet for a birthday one time. We had a canal right by our house when I was a city kid, and they turned the water out, so all it was left was a little bit of ice and pretty much empty. There was a little frozen water down the middle, and we were out exploring, and I was cutting down the little branch that was over this hole, and all of a sudden, out pops a beaver.
Wow!
Ready to fight because I was taking up his house.
Wow!
We tried to catch that with a cardboard box. Luckily, we didn't get chewed up because they got those big yellow teeth. So we chased it under a bridge, and so we were trying to catch it with the cardboard box, and we all survived.
What was the style like back in the 60s? What did you wear?
We kind of went through different styles. Like for a while, it was
peg pants.
Peg pants for a while, and then bell bottoms. I remember the bell bottoms came in because I had a lot of bell bottoms, but it was always everybody was very modestly dressed. Yeah, I just remember I had shoes to match almost every outfit. So I don't know about everybody else. But.
Well, it's interesting. You go back another generation. My parents, I saw a lot of pictures that they had. And they were always in hats, the men and women, the young men and women, hats, overcoats, suits.
Yeah.
Very formal. They like to dress up.
Oh, and back then, all the teachers wore, like the teachers would wear what they wear to church. And the men had suits on. They taught in suits and dresses.
Big flowery collar, long collars.
Oh, yeah. They were not a good look.
Polyester.
Yeah.
Well, polyester.
And my mother, every year, because being an only child, she'd say, okay, she says, would you like to have 10 new outfits all at once? And she took me to her clothing store. I mean, I went to the good stores for clothes. Or would you like to have a new outfit every month? Now you choose. So that was kind of what. And sometimes I would find 2 or 3 things that I liked. But then I went to college. I went to Rick's and then I went down to BYU. And I went, oh my gosh, all my roommates wanted to borrow my clothes. And I wasn't used to sharing. When you're an only child, you don't learn to share.
Yeah, she won't share her clothes with me either.
Darn it.
Still. She didn't learn anything.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, let me tell you what Mia was having 8 kids. So, and 7 daughters and 1 son.
You were asleep through all that?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Then everybody wants to borrow what you have. Yeah, but no, I wasn't. It took me a while to get out of the only child syndrome.
What made you happy back in the 60s?
I don't know. We traveled. We were always going to Utah to visit cousins that I just loved. My mother would take me on the train to go down to the Rose Parade, Disneyland, the San Diego Zoo. We had relatives down there. And so and we would go to Montana on, little trips.
Just a lot of car trips.
Yeah, a lot of car trips and train. We rode the train whenever we went to Utah or to California. It was usually by train.
Oh, it's fun.
When I was just starting my first year of college, I was chosen to be in the Palmyra pageant back in New York, and we went. There were a group of us that went by bus. And that was an amazing experience. I don't know. I remember always being happy as a child. I've always been happy. I just have that happy gene. So it's kind of good. I find joy. I always have ever since I was little, but I find joy in little things. And in fact, some of my kids, they said, we've never known anybody that can find joy faster than you can. I mean, I'd play house when I was little. I'd go out in the backyard and I would put sticks for different rooms that I was going to have, and I'd have dolls, and I had friends come over and we'd play house, with our dolls and babies, and we just had a great time, just with simple things. We didn't have video games back then. It was create your own fun, and we did it well. We did it really well.
Well, I just think we had a lot of freedom to do stuff and just go
whatever
with
we
our
wanted
friends.
to do. Oh, can I interject too? Back when we lived there wasn't like now. You worry about somebody coming and kidnapping your kids, and we didn't have any of that. We could disappear for hours and hours, and as long as we got home before dark, we were fine, right?
Yeah, we would get up in the summer. Between summer break, summer vacation, and we'd get up, like in the morning and just get on our bikes and just go. As long as we were back by dark, it was okay.
Yeah, nobody checked on us. Didn't have a way to check on us.
Didn't have to tell parents anything. They didn't ask. We didn't tell. We obviously had no digital stuff, no internet. So you make your own fun. So we'd go over to. I lived where they were building new houses, so I'd go over there and get all the scrap wood and nails, and I'd build boats to float in the canal or make stuff. We lived next to a farmer's field too, so we could go out there and he'd be irrigating. We said, let's build a dam in his ditch. We were just always doing stuff that was We didn't watch that much TV. I mean, we watched some, but
not much. There was like one channel at the first, and then we got two, and we thought, wow, look at all these choices.
we just do stuff, and we just don't have to ask. Just tell. I'll be gone tomorrow for the next 2 days. So we just go fishing and have a great time.
That's true.
So there's just a lot of personal stuff. I mean, face to face as opposed to screen to screen.
I had a friend, and her dad built us a car out of wood and put wheels on it. And so we just were always playing house. We loved to play house. But we would take our dolls, once I got mine, and we would drive to California. I mean, we never left anywhere. I mean, it was just pretend. Drive to California because we were picking up our husbands. And then her dad built us a playhouse and put, play furniture in it that was about our size. And we would spend hours making mud pies and cookies, and we had these cute little plates, and we'd pretend like we ate them and fed the babies because there was a little baby high chair. And I mean, I spent hours and hours doing fun stuff like that when we were little.
I really like music, so I had a little 78 record player, 7845, with a little switch on the side. I would have a stack of records, and I'd get up in the morning and throw my blanket over me and get by the heat vent and turn on my records. Now, the 78s had a little hole that would slide down the spindle. The 45s.
But you could play one song at a time.
And so you had an adapter.
Frankie Avalon and
Bobby Rydell.
Bobby Rydell. All these really great.
Bobby Darin.
Yeah.
Chubby Checker.
Yeah.
Peggy March. Leslie Gore.
Fabian. Oh, I was in love with Fabian. Oh my gosh.
And why wouldn't you be?
I know. Why wouldn't I be? Anyway, we all had these stacks of records, and you could hear one song at a time, and you just sit by the hour listening to this music.
They had teen magazines back then.
Okay.
One, in fact, I think it was Dig magazine. I dig it, So they had a pen pal section there. So I sent my picture in there, a little profile. So I started doing. I have pen pals in England and Canada and California, other states, and so writing back and forth.
Wow.
I had a real thing about getting mail based on a project we did in 5th grade, where the teacher says, "Okay, we're going to write to the Chambers of Commerce in each of the states and pick your state and see what you get back." That just excited me that I was going to get mail. I wrote to all 50 states and all the provinces in Canada, and I was even writing in the back of like This Week magazine. There was like Knights of Columbus has a pamphlet, a little tracking pamphlet. And so that's more mail. So I sent for that. So I was getting all this mail. I came home from school one day and I had a stack of manila envelopes from states with all their tourist information. I got Beatles stuff 2 years before the Beatles showed up. So it was just a lot of fun.
My kids are so good because when I was young, I taught them to write thank you letters. If they got something, they needed to write a letter to thank them. And now they have taught their kids. And I mean, aren't we, Craig? We're getting thank you cards from grandkids, from my kids all the time. I got one yesterday and one today. And just these wonderful letters of love and appreciation for something small. Doesn't matter whether it's big or small. They sent the letter. There was a group of us that went down to Education Week, and there were 5 in the car, 2 in the front seat, or maybe 3 in the front seat, 3 in the back. It was crowded. And anyway, on the way back, this is the days before freeways. So we went from Rigby, Idaho down to Provo, and it was during the summertime. It was hot. And the guy that was driving the car was very conscientious about not spending too much money. So he wasn't driving too fast. And as I recall, there wasn't any air conditioning. Okay. And we had stopped at a drive-in to get some food right after one of the classes were done, and we were headed back. And so I was in the back, and there were all of these wrappers. Yeah, wrappers all over the floor, and I just got sick of it. So I gathered up the wrappers, and we were headed over the Malad Hill, and I just put everything in a bag, And shame on me. But I opened the window and I tossed it out the window right into the face of a state policeman who was sitting at the top of the hill waiting for speeders to come. And he was mad. Oh my gosh. He put his lights on and he pulled us over. Everybody was so mad at me. I can't tell you. Anyway, he pulled us over and he came to the car and he said, "Who threw that garbage out?" And I was waiting for somebody else to, but anyway, I said I did. And he says, "Get back in my car now." Oh my gosh, I knew I was in so much trouble. So I got in the back and he says, "Why?" So I explained where we'd been and we were in a hurry to get home. And it was hot and we couldn't find the garbage. And he always said, "Well, where are you from?" And I said, "Rigby, Idaho." And he said, "Oh." He says, "Well, I have a roommate from Rigby, Idaho." Well, it happened to be my cousin who was the mayor at the time. And so, he says, "Oh my gosh." He said, "We were such great friends in college." Well, we got talking. Pretty soon he's nicer and nicer and nicer. And he said, "Well, I'll tell you what." He said, "If you'll go pick up all that garbage," he said, "I was going to give you a ticket. But if you'll go pick up all that garbage," and deposit it in the garbage, he said, I won't write you a ticket." And I said, "Oh, shoot." I said, "I just looked where that was. I had on this new outfit with white shoes." And I said, "It's a little muddy out there." And I said, "I hate to get my shoes muddy." And he went, "All right." He says, "I will go pick up your garbage." And he said, so he did, and everybody in the car, I know. I was ballsy.
I can't believe it.
Oh my gosh.
You were just like,
yeah.
clueless.
Yeah. I mean, so
you might as well just keep going for it. Right?
He went and picked up all my garbage, and the people in the car were going, they could not believe what they were seeing. He brought it back and he said, "Do you think it would be too much trouble for you to put this in the garbage container?" He said, "It's just over the hill. Do you think you could do that?" And I said, "Absolutely, I can do that." So I took the garbage bag. He says, "Oh, and tell Ross Lee he owes me a favor." So I get back in the car. Nobody can believe what just happened. Nobody. So we went up to, because it was a $500 fine for littering.
$500.
$500 for littering. I deposited my garbage in the container and we went home. But
It didn't strain you too much.
it didn't strain me too much.
And you didn't get your shoes dirty.
And I didn't get my shoes dirty.
Makes me accomplished.
Aren't they awesome? I just love them. It was so fun chatting with them and the stories that they have. Can you believe that Lorna was pulled over by a cop and got out of it? And not only that, but asked him to take the garbage for her so she wouldn't ruin her shoes. It makes me think about how much I love personalities and different personalities and unique personalities. And she just has such a wonderfully funny and caring and big personality that just brings a lot of joy to others. So I love that. I love all the interviews that I've gotten to do, and really each individual has such a different personality, all very wonderful and good, and just keeps things interesting. I think the world would be a very boring place if we all had very similar personalities. So that's one reason I like to interview people and get to know people, different people, young, old, because they have a different take on life, a different perspective, and all have very unique personalities, which are the most fun to observe. So yeah, I think that's it for this week. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. And yeah, I will talk to you later. Bye. Wait. You can't miss the embarrassing story of the week. No. Okay. It's that time. It's Steph with an F's embarrassing story of the week. Alrighty, for this week's embarrassing story, it could be said that it's not quite embarrassing, which, I kind of stretch things a little bit. I would say quirky is a better description for some of these, but this week was interesting to say the least, and I'll just get right into it. I came home from work and I got myself a glass of water and everything was fine. About an hour later, I got myself another glass of water and the water pressure was extremely low, which I thought was weird. I got the idea to feed my dogs eventually that day, and I open the garage door where my dogs eat, and the whole entire garage was just about flooded. So panic mode, I opened the door to the backyard and noticed that the irrigation pipe has basically split. And so there's water spraying everywhere. And the embarrassing part of the story is only embarrassing because everything turned out just fine. There was minimal damage. Everyone was okay. The house was okay. And we're happy with the outcome. But the embarrassing part is that I spent about an hour drenched in water outside in the backyard in very muddy water. So I was super muddy and I was trying to fill all the water that was spraying into the 2 large garbage cans that we have, a bunch of bins, basically anything that I could find. And I'm just scooping water from thing to thing and just frantically playing in the mud outside. So that was kind of embarrassing, and did that in front of all of the relatives that live around me. So, but it's only embarrassing and quirky because everything turned out fine. You know, if the flood had damaged my house, I think it would have been more of a sad, depressing story than an embarrassing one. So I thought it was pretty funny. We survived it. I got really muddy. I didn't ruin the floor, but we had to mop a lot once I was running in and outside of the house with mud all over me. And it was quite the scene. So with that, I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.
If you came here for mental health help, please go visit your doctor. If you're looking for some mental health tips, Dr. Daniel Amen is someone I follow. I love what he has to say and offer. I think his website is brainhealthassessment.com, and he just has some awesome checklist items that go over brain health habits that you should be doing to have better brain health. I want to say there's like 5 to 10 items. And if you have those, if you're working on those habits and trying to improve them to improve your brain health, you'll also improve your happiness level, because brain health equals mental health. So keep your brains happy and healthy, and check out Dr. Daniel Amen. This is not sponsored. I just really like what he has to say, and I think it's really beneficial. I think it can help a lot of people. It's actually very matter of fact, kind of obvious, but yet we neglect so many of these habits daily. And I do feel like, if you're feeling unhappy, that may be one of the reasons you're unhappy, because you're neglecting your brain health, which is also your mental health. And trying to improve these habits could really help. So check him out. If you have any stories from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, please get in contact with me. Let's chat. I want nothing more than to chat about the past. I want nothing more than to chat about the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. If you have any specific questions that I'm not asking that you would like to know about these eras while interviewing these people, please let me know. I would love some advice, and I would love your input. So what would you guys like to know?